right, getting back to our Wonder Woman sketch, I have taken my break and gotten my Coca-Cola in a giant jug thing. I, I brought it here to Europe from America, and if it ever breaks, I am going to be so unhappy. Because European glasses are these tiny little things, and it's like, no. We Americans, we love our cola. I also installed some brushes, so you will see that my brush group is a little different. Not by much. Alright, so where we left off is I had only inked the face a little bit. I have resketched the body using that 3D pose that I got from Manga Studio, and now I am going to ink the rest, and this is probably going to be very boring for you because, well, I'm inking. Let's see here. I'm going to get on my ink layer, and I'm going to use my ink brush, which, is green. No, that's not going to work. And it's also very big. This is an ink brush that I mentioned earlier. It comes from this group right here called Jeremy's Sketchbook Brushes. I believe I downloaded that either off of Deviant Art or off of the internet somewhere. Sketchbook Pro 7 uses different brushes than the current Sketchbook subscription, so finding brushes for the old 7 is kind of hard. And I was thrilled to find this inker because it's just a perfect inking brush. So if you probably Google Jeremy's sketchbook brushes, you can probably find it. He did a fantastic job of making these available for free. Anyway, back to inking. I'm just going to start here with this part in her hair and just make a rough sketch of how I want it to look, and then I'll probably change some of that eventually. Now, curly hair is fun stuff to draw. I am not the best at drawing curly hair. And I tend to make it kind of like 1970s ugly. So, sometimes I have to go back and rethink what I've done when it comes to inking hair. Now, you can't just draw waves because that looks really horrible, and you don't want to draw every single line. With curly hair, you tend to draw the lump of hair and then draw the shadow in where it dips inwards towards the head. And because I'm doing this without a photo reference, there's going to be lots of mistakes in how I want the hair to look. And lots of additions and changes. I'm going to press that down and get maybe darker there. Don't make that curl at all. And curly hair, because it breaks, just like normal hair does, it tends to have a little bit of flip curls that aren't behaving and kind of messy and doing their own thing. So they are here, there, and everywhere. I'm just gonna kind of leave the rest of that alone for now. I think that's a decent start. It'll probably change a lot as it goes through. Okay, then we're going to start working on the rest of this and just go from the outer things to the inner things, and sometimes the inner things to the outer things. I know that this is going to need to be on the outside object, so I've got this where the band goes over her shoulder. It's going to have to show that it's going over her shoulder. Don't like that line at all. Trying to do that all at one time. It's going to be my best bet. Just zoom as best I can. Now there is up here on your top bar a steady stroke option. If you go all the way up to your top bar, and you can see what it will do. If I want to erase that, I can grab this here and it will make a steady stroke for me, and that looks pretty good. Maybe a little bit too thick though. Let's just try that one more time. What it does is it does your math calculations for you. It gives you this little dotted line lead. And you can see here the lead is much longer. It'll also do it on the erase, as you can see. So it helps you get a nice, ooh, that's awful. That is bad. So I think I'll just change that leader a little bit shorter. There we go. And that will help you give you a nice clean stroke. I actually like that one. That one will work. Alright, I'm going to turn that off and go back to this. Now where two pieces of leather meet, there's different ways that leather meets. If it has a loop, for example, it means that this piece would go on top of that piece and come back here and probably have a rivet and a little bit of a thing. So I mean, that's an adjustable piece of leather as an example, or it is attached directly on, for example, like that. It's the little things you need to think about how armor is put together and built. Either one is fine, I think, for this. I'll probably look up the what was done in the movie later. Leather also has some tooling, so sometimes there's little edges. I just want to make a hint of an edge. I don't want to sit there and draw every little edge. That would be annoying. And that's just not my style. If you love drawing every little edge, go right for it. Alright, so we're going to look at her neck. And we talked about these bones here. There's this bone that runs here. I just want to hint at it. And the muscles of the neck. Now, that's really important. When you turn, you can see there's the muscle that runs from the ear down here and also on this side. And you just want to hint at it. I don't like drawing them, like I said before, I don't like drawing my characters too gnarly, too muscled up. On women who are very, very skinny, this dip, this little V dip, is very prominent. The more fat you have on your body, the less prominent it gets. I have seen, if I draw it as an example, I have seen people who have very, very deep V there, and I think it's nicer to be a little bit more feminine and not have too much of a deep V there. Now, if this was a trans lady, for example, she might have some of this air tube visual and this a little stronger. Just a drawing information here, but as far as I know, Wonder Woman has been never accused of being trans or denoted as trans, so I'm going to keep that out. Let's see, we've got the bone there, and we've got our muscles and the armpit, and I made her boob just hang out a little bit from that outfit. Now remember, they were big fat sacks, so just want to denote some fat sack there. And then the edge of her costume has a stripe, and there was some tooling, as I recall, on the edging. Let's see. One thing I really like about Wonder Woman is her costume is never too low. You don't see a ton of cleavage because she has a giant bird there. Don't remember if it's got any I don't like that line. Alright, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go small, check what I've done, see how it looks, and every now and then I'm going to take my image, I'm going to flip it vertically and move it around so I can see it flipped as if it's in a mirror. And this is where things get wonky, because most people, actually scientifically proven, symmetry is very important. The more symmetrical a face is, the more beautiful it's considered. And you can see here that once I flip her like this, her eyes are not symmetrical at all. This is where the tilt of my own head and my own eye tilts and everything else comes in. So now I'm going to cheat. I am going to go up here to this top and use the symmetry. Now you can see it runs up and down. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this ink layer I'm working on and I'm going to move it really quick so that it's straight up and down like that. Then I have my, there we go. You can see now I have my symmetry tool pretty much down the middle of her face. I'm going to run that right there. And I'm going to come up here and I'm going to work on these eyes, because I want these eyes to be much more symmetrical. Now, what do I want to do here? I'm just going to erase this part. And change a little bit of the nose. Actually, just change all that part of the nose. Just draw that part over again. Alright, and just do a little bit more here. This will all make a little bit more sense here in just a second. Get rid of those lines. Okay. So, I know she doesn't look perfect yet, but here, there's a reason I've done this. I'm going to turn the symmetry back off. I'm going to move the image back to where it was. Let's see, where is... Yep. Alright. And then I'm going to reflip it. Image, reflip, turn it back over. And you can see now her eyes are much more symmetrical. And I can come up here and I can re-ink the nose. I think there's too much tilt in her eyes. I'm going to just erase a little bit of this eye. There, got rid of that tilt. This little bit of smudgy I made and put in the highlight spots. Alright, so now her eyes are much more symmetrical and much more even. I'm going to shrink her down. What do I think? It's not too bad so far. Alright. And she needs this headpiece, which I'm going to put more in the middle of her head, which it currently goes a little bit more over. Just hint at all of the pieces in there. Doesn't have to be perfect at the moment. I can always go back in and change it. Let's see what we've got here. That's not too bad. I don't like this hair. She looks so 70s with that part down the middle, doesn't she? Let's change that and modernize that a little bit. Now that I've got more, let's put the part a little bit more to the side. I don't like those curls. The more I look at them, the more I don't like them. Yeah, I like those bigger curls better. Let's get rid of those curls. that last line. Alright, that's looking a little bit better. And save. Alright, so you can see this is just really a process of how I do things. You just start off and you just make decisions a lot as I go. I draw the knuckles first. And this hand had the thumb out farther. I want the thumb touching. Cross over here. Work on the outside item first, which is the bracer. Van brace. And then the arm. I don't like this line. She needs to have a lower muscle and then come in and then go down, I think. And then this hand, do the knuckles first as a guideline. Now once again, the image, you can see it, the thumb is way out here, and I don't want the thumb way out there. I want the thumb pressed in close, making a nice heavy fist, strong fist. It's always a good idea to look and study fists and hands. Use your own. It looks like she's got 6 fingers for some reason. Don't want that. Don't like that. Knuckles, when they come together, if you look, this one, here we go, here. There's like a slight curve on this side and a slight curve on that side. So this curve, this finger, should be bigger. There, that'll work for now. Okay, get down here. There is some sort of loop that holds her rope together. And there's this little tail that's going out. This is where drawing rope is not fun. I'm not going to draw every one of them perfect, but you can see they're all crossed over each other. Doesn't have to be awesome. And then that will, here's her rib cage, and then that will go back up over the other side of her back. She's got that little bit of rib cage right there, and then, as I recall, this came down, and we're going to just follow the lines that would go down if you were wearing like a bodice or a corset. And so here is this line here, and it goes around the curve of the breast, under, and then in towards the middle. And we're going to do that a couple times. That'll do for now. So I recall the one on I looked at last night had like a piece that went out like that. So let's change these so that they go more you'll see they have kind of like a line that goes across. Alright, now let's see, her belt. I don't remember exactly what it looks like. Now we're looking at her hip from an angle, so you see here I've gone around her waist so that you see just a hint of it from the back. And the secret to drawing skirts is I think about where the pleats are at. For example, if that's where the pleats are, and the front panel was longer, there'll be a fold where those pleats are, and you just make like a letter Z. Like that. So you see a little bit of the fabric underneath. And what I'm doing is, here's the pleat, and there's a letter Z there, so that goes up and down like that, and that will give you that look of folded fabric. Just erase my doodles a little bit. I wanted that a little bit shorter here, so let's make that a little bit shorter. A little bit more there. Maybe see a little bit more from the back. Alright, and then it had a nice little line on the bottom of decoration. That works for me. Alright, we've got this leg here that we just want to hint at, and this leg. One of the things I really like to do when drawing women's legs is this bit of muscle right here. Just a slight overlap right on that side. And just barely, I don't like that one, just barely show that there's some muscle in her legs. Once again, like I said, I don't like to make my women too strong. They're strong because of their nature. She's a goddess. She's not pumping iron every day, even though she probably could. And then start on the armor, working on the outer edges, the outer thing, most outer thing first. Just making an edge. Making sure it looks like it's actually over her body instead of attached to her body. And the calf and the ankle and some sort of greaves. On her boot, a little bit of line. And I'm going to tilt this so I can look at this horrible shoe. Because feet and shoes are always, to me, some of the most difficult parts of drawing. And I really need to look at them correct side up when I'm doing them. Let's see, because you've got on your shoes, you have a sole, and I have to imagine how the foot sits in the shoe. There's the heel when I'm drawing it. And then she's also got armor on these shoes. So I have to draw that armor as well and try to remember how her foot is going to sit inside the shoe. Alright, I'm going to turn that back. Alright, not too bad. Let's Control Save. And then in our next one, we will work on coloring it in.